Hey good people, I'm Rashida H. Muhammad, MBA, nail tech affectionately known as Ra. Welcome to the Nails by Ra YouTube channel, the home of the Confessions of a Nail Tech podcast. We are coming up on season 4 and I hope you'll join us. If you are new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe because I know you'll be back and you'll want to hear more. And if you're returning, welcome back. I'm so happy you returned to see my beautiful face because I'm certainly excited to see yours. What's on my nails? OPI Tempura-Ture is rising. I'll be sure to link it in the description below. You know, over the years, I've developed a sense of humor for a lot of the challenges that occur when it comes to transferring my nail tech license from one state to another. If you've been with me on this journey for some time, then you understand that I transferred my license from New York to Georgia back in 2018 when I first relocated from New York State to the South. And then I recently relocated to the Carolinas in 2022 of last year. No, it's been 2 years. Wow. Okay, so it's been 2 years now. This is a 2-year video in the making because I kicked and screamed about some of the requirements to transfer your license from out of state to the Carolinas. So without further ado, let's get into it. I won't ramble too much because I want to get into the meat and potatoes of what this video is about. So I want to give you some resources first, because if you are transferring from a state that does not recognize the NIC exam, so this is a 2-part series, very similar to any other state like New York, where you have to sit for the written portion of the exam and the practical portion of the exam, where you demonstrate different services in the salon that you would get if you were working in an actual salon. And the NIC exam is proctored by the NIC, the National Interstate Council for the State Boards of Cosmetology. And this exam is recognized by the majority of the 50 states, minus a few states. So I am also going to encourage you to advocate for license uniformity and join me on this journey, because I have certainly been putting in the work to make sure that it is easier to transfer your cosmetology license from one state to another without all of the rigmarole of having to sit for the state board again, like I did and many other nail technicians before me. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you how to do it. So if you are new and you are recently licensed, you should certainly begin by checking the state that you are moving to, their state board of cosmetology, and reading their rules for endorsement and or reciprocity. Now, when a state is endorsing your license, they are accepting that you are a licensed individual from a previous state and that your license is also good here, and they will endorse your license for you to do nails under that state's state board of cosmetology rules and regulations. Now, when it comes to someone who is coming from a state with lesser requirements or more requirements, the state board typically does handle those things, like the state of Georgia, on a case-by-case basis. However, if you are moving to a state that did take a private exam, so your private written, private practical, you may have to sit, or I won't say may, you will for now have to sit for the state board exam again, based upon the state that recognizes the NIC exam. That was something that I kicked and screamed about until I just went ahead and did it, okay? And took it a step further, and I reached out to the NIC state board just to understand what the rationale was behind making individuals sit for the state board again, regardless of years of experience. But that is a story for later on. I want to give you what to do. So if it's been some time since you sat for the state board, and I'm going to take the approach with you have to sit for the NIC exam for now, you want to brush up on the latest edition of the current Milady Standard Nail Technology. This is the exam prep book. There are quite a few. I want to say there are 13 mini chapter quizzes and then one 100-question comprehensive exam. I studied this book, and I also picked up on the Milady Cengage Standard Foundations. So I ended up getting these books from Amazon. I'll also put those links in the bio and description. And these just to brush up on some skills, because the realistic part about sitting for the state board exam and for going to nail technology school is that it gives you a foundation for understanding the science and the techniques for nail technology. That teaches you how to pass the exam. But once you get into the real world, a lot of that experience cannot be taught in a classroom. You have to get out and actually be with the people and with the clients that you are servicing. So let's just get that out the way. If you are nervous, don't be. If you sit for the state board before, it's okay to sit for it a second time, especially if you're moving to a state that does not recognize private state exams like the Carolinas. So these three, and I'll be certain to link these in the bio for your pleasure, so that way you can just brush up on your skills or just have these as a reference tool, because I kept my original ones until they disintegrated for the most part. But the rules do change, and there are new techniques that exist now that didn't exist when I was originally licensed. So that's the pre-step and step one. Doing your research about the current state's cosmetology rules and seeing what they require you to do if you are moving from a new state. Some states just do not endorse other states. Some states you just have to sit for the state board there, and some states don't require it at all. If you're a licensed professional somewhere else, you're welcome to apply there. And I'll be certain to tell you what those states are as well. So that's step A and step one. Okay? So after sitting for the practical sitting for the written and the practical exams, I went ahead and continued to advocate and reach out, because interestingly enough, when I sat for the state board for the second time, there were 5 other women sitting for the state board who were licensed in other states. Interesting, isn't it? So I bit the bullet and I sat for it and I passed. So now I am celebrating officially 12 years of licensure in the states of New York, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So we did it. So what you want to do also is make sure that you are keeping records and make sure that you are keeping copies of all of your correspondence between yourself and the State Board of Exams. Make sure you're also keeping copies of your application that you send out to the State Board and tracking it. I would give it time. The entire process for me, because I took my time with it, it took about a year, because again, in the beginning, I was a little arrogant. I said, I am licensed already, and I have been for, at the time, 10 years at the time. And I said, I think I know what I'm doing. So then I sat for it anyway. I had to humble myself because, at that point, I am an army of one. And I wasn't really getting much help when I reached out to the administrative staff at the State Board of Cosmetology in South Carolina. And I did feel dismissed, but I didn't let that stop me on my journey. There's an element of resiliency, and I talk about this in episode 1 of the Confessions of a Nail Tech podcast. And you have to be resilient in this industry. It is not the easiest. Being a beauty enhancement professional is not the easiest. There's pressure. But I want to encourage you to continue to advocate for license uniformity while also abiding by the rules set forward by your State Board of Cosmetology, because you can't really have much of an argument if you're not licensed in that state. You look like an outlaw. So it's best to just comply first and then see what you can do to work within the system to promote license uniformity, because there are disconnects when it comes to each state's requirement for what they require you to have in terms of credit hours and experience in order to get your license. I use this analogy. If I was licensed to drive in New York State, I don't have to sit for the driver's license, sit for the driving test again when I move. So why should you have to do that for your cosmetology license? Think about it and let me know. So a little bit of a recap here. When you are moving from state to state, your very first stop should be visiting the states you are moving to, what their state board of cosmetology requires you to have in terms of credit hours and experience before you decide to apply. Now, there are some subcomponents to this. You can apply anyway, and your application can be approved like it was for me in Georgia, or it can be approved with provisions like it was for me in South Carolina. So when I moved, I applied and I received a pending email letting me know that all of my credentials were accepted except for my state board exam, because I took the original exam in New York and I had taken it so long ago. The records are cleared every 7 or 10 years. So they have proof that I passed it, but the actual score is not on file anymore. So understood. However, the bottom line is I still passed it and I was licensed. But I would still apply anyway and look for ways to work within the system to make sure that you're leaving the space better than how you found it in terms of the cosmetology realm. You want to look out for other nail technicians who may be coming behind you with a similar story. We don't know why people are moving across state lines, but what we do know is that they want to continue to do nails. There was an article and an interview done with the NIC State Board, so the National Interstate Council of the Boards of Cosmetology, I have to get comfortable saying that, and Certami did an interview with me about my experience, and I shared at length. I'll also put that in the link below. And furthermore, you have to be resilient. Don't give up because something gets hard. Keep being resilient, keep doing the work, and keep educating yourselves about the changing realm of cosmetology and furthermore nail technology. And before I let you go, I want to show you these one more time. A couple of resources for you to prepare for the state board exam and or just to have these as references. Okay? So before we get out of here, I want to thank you for your time today. I am Rashida H. Muhammad, MBA, nail tech affectionately known as Ra. Make sure you subscribe and check us out on Instagram at Nails by Ra. Visit the Confessions of a Nail Tech podcast, and also make sure to visit www.nailsbyra.com. Until next time, ciao.